Can you tell us who you are and when and where you were born?
Uh, my name is Liz O'Gorman Smit, and I was born in Renfrew County in 1956.
Okay. Which county were you a junior farmer member of?
I was a member of Renfrew County, University of Guelph, and Ottawa Carleton.
Okay. How did you first get involved in junior farmers?
I was at a 4-H meeting at a neighbor's place, and their children were all involved in junior farmers, and they were heading off to a junior farmers meeting. So I went with them, and that was sort of my introduction to junior farmers.
And then how did you get involved with the University of Guelph?
Well, I went to leadership camp in 1975 as a representative from Renfrew. And there were a lot of people there who were either heading off to University of Guelph or were already belonged to the junior farmers at the University of Guelph. So it just, there was such a group association, like the friendships that developed at camp just sort of continued at the University of Guelph, so it was just sort of a second nature to join junior farmers there.
And how did you get involved with Ottawa Carleton?
I moved to to Ottawa, I guess, after university. I worked in a few different places, but Ottawa was kind of the place that I always came back to and could find something, even if it was just temporary. So had some friends. Again, there was one woman that I had been involved with at Guelph, and she worked here, and she was involved in junior farmers here. So went with her to meetings, I guess, and that's how I got involved in Carleton.
And how did you end up becoming provincial director for the University of Guelph Club?
I guess I was just always involved. Had a friend who had been the provincial director the year before, and she talked me into running for it. So I guess it was just sort of a natural progression. I had done different roles. I hadn't been president, I don't think, of the club, but I'd been secretary in different roles within the University of Guelph Club, so I took on that role as provincial director.
And what sort of topics were discussed at provincial board meeting?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think the committee even that I was on. I think it was a community development committee or community betterment committee. Just about some of the projects that we might do in the community and improving junior farmer reputation, maybe, because it was kind of a social organization. A lot of people just saw it as a social organization, so we wanted to kind of improve our image as having done community betterment and being good in the community as well.
And who was the president at that time?
Let's see. Was it Bart Johnson at that time, or was it Jim Phelan? It might have been Bart Johnson. Okay.
And what kind of leader was he?
He was good. He was, I remember him being he had a really good personality, good sense of humor, but he could run a good meeting and manage things well, I think.
And who was the secretary-treasurer at the time?
That would be, let me see, I think Carm Hamilton was at the time.
Okay.
I'm not sure it had transferred to, or maybe Ken Knox. Now
Well, what did both of them do for junior farmers? What did they bring to the table?
I guess maybe the broad perspective of the whole province, their work with the ministry at that time, because that was their role within the ministry, was to sort of not develop junior farmers, but to support junior farmers. So I think that was what they brought, was just that support and maybe a bit of authority to the program and the executive.
What challenges did provincial junior farmers face? What issues were there that they had to tackle?
Well, as I mentioned, it was the sort of seen as a social club, and then it would get out of hand with partying, and there were some members that was basically what they joined for. So I guess it was to solidify what what our real role was and what our motto was. Self-help and community development kind of thing. Like that was what we wanted people to know. I think I see this in organizations now. It's sort of a smaller group of the people who are doing all the work, and so I think that was one of the things that as executives or whoever, that we tried to keep people involved and that kind of thing.
What did membership cost when you remember?
That's a good question. I think when I was at Guelph it was around $18 a year.
Okay. And roughly how many members were there in the province?
That's a good question too. Let me see. I'm sure there'd be 5,000.
Okay. What provincial events did you take part in?
I remember going to a curling bonspiel when I was in Renfrew. I had never curled before. I had a couple of curling lessons before we went, and we headed off as a team to Simcoe County, I believe. What else did I do? I was not a real athlete, but that was one thing. When I got to Guelph, I was involved in square dancing. What else did I do? Would go to the conference every year. What other? Yeah. Well, it was mostly the square dancing that kind of sustained me through Guelph and through Carleton. I was involved in square dancing.
And where did you square dance? Like what kind of venues?
We went, the first year that I was at Guelph, we went to Sing Swing, which was in Peterborough at the time. And we went there, and I think it was held there. Was it two? I don't know if it was there all the time that I was at Guelph or not. So, what else did I?
Were there any changes in junior farmers? Events, structure, policy that are worth mentioning?
Not that I can recall. I'm not. Nothing's coming to mind.
Okay. You went to leadership camp in 1975.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that as an experience?
It was very almost surreal. I remember, you go in and these people that you've never met before, and I guess I'd been at 4-H, the regional 3-day conference, but other than that I'd never really experienced anything, where I was going and meeting complete strangers, and by the end of the week you felt like you knew people and you had developed friendships that it's hard to sort of put a price on.
How did you get selected?
Probably just applied. I don't suppose there was maybe not a real competition for it. There were 2 of us went from Renfrew County that year.
And what sort of activities went on?
Well, I remember we had clans, I believe, that we were in, and that's a good question. I can't remember which clan I was a member of, but we did some sporting activities. What I remember going like for hikes, I guess. We used to have an evening ceremony. We would go to to this one area at the edge of the lake, and we had a ceremony there. Closing ceremonies, I guess, each day. Yeah.
Okay. Now you had an exchange too.
Yes. I went to Alberta, and I was trying to think whether it was like a junior farmer organization or if it was sort of a senior 4-H group. I'm thinking it might have been the senior 4-H group. But there were 4 of us selected to go, and that was quite a thrill. And went out in July of 1976 and stayed with 2 families, and just got to, to experience life in Alberta, which was very different than home. I came from a dairy farm, and they milked cows, but there were like 6 cows that they milked, and they did that by hand. Otherwise they had like a beef operation and cash crop, I guess, and just the difference in how they measured land by sections as opposed to acres, and it was very interesting. The second family that I stayed with, we went on a trail ride, and I didn't have a lot of experience with riding horses, so that was kind of interesting. And just I went to a rodeo, and it was pretty neat.
Was there anyone in Junior Farmers you met that became a big part of your life?
I have a very good friend who I met through Junior Farmers when I was in Carleton, and we're still good friends now. That's sort of proximity. She's close. We probably don't see each other as often as we'd like, but so she's probably the closest person. But there's still people who went to leadership camp, and some of them were even on the team, like the implementation team or the leader team, who are good friends of mine still. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, this is backing up, I guess, but of some of the people who were at leadership camp that we were friends then at Guelph. Well, in our second year, there was one person who had been at leadership. Well, maybe there were 2 of them who were on the leading team, who I roomed with, and then another friend of theirs that I roomed with, and she ended up marrying one of the guys, Steve Dolson, who was on the leading group there. And they were in town Steve was at a meeting in Ottawa, and so I got to go in and have supper with them. So they're friendships that, even though you don't see them all the time, they're still a part of your life. Like they're still people you you can go and see, and there's a bond there that you can't quite put a finger on, but there's a bond that just developed, but it's it stemmed from Junior Farmers.
How did Junior Farmers change you as a person?
It made me try new things, I guess, that I had never thought I could do. When I got into square dancing, I really thought I had 2 left feet, and it became something that I really enjoyed, and I won't say I was really good at it, but the team that I belonged to with my year at university, we won the square dance competition at Guelph at College Royal one year, so it was just, that was one thing that I did, but just made me more interested in becoming involved in organizations. And interestingly, I just came back from the fair convention, and it's like there's this excitement that had been gone, and it was kind of fun to kind of be back at a convention, and the networking and the just the involvement. I thought that was kind of a neat thing to tie in. That again goes back to junior farmers.
In your opinion, what is the importance of having a program like Junior Farmers in Ontario?
I think there's a lot of opportunity for kids now that maybe I didn't have, or a lot of different things that kids can get involved in that weren't necessarily available when I was growing up. But I think it's there's potential for leadership development that I think specifically, and I know that Junior Farmers had gotten to be kind of an urban and rural organization, but it catered a lot to the rural community, and I think maybe that's a positive thing, just the exposure of urban people to the rural community and appreciation of what we have to offer, and maybe that's even a role right now too, as well as the leadership development.
What have you done with yourself since leaving Junior Farmers?
Well, I guess I got married after Junior Farmers. Actually, my husband was a junior farmer. I never knew him as a junior farmer, but I worked with the Ministry of Agriculture, and again, that I credit almost to junior farmers to have had the opportunities. Just even the first year after junior farmer camp, I went to work on one of their summer programs. So, there was that link and association with the Ministry of Agriculture at that time too. So I've worked with the Ministry of Agriculture for a number of years, and I guess being involved in some rural organizations. I worked, before I went to work with the ministry, I worked with the Agricultural Society in Renfrew, and that was, just again, I guess my appreciation for the rural life and the rural community, and so a lot of the jobs I've had have been involved with either agriculture or rural, or initially anyway, been involved with rural or agriculture issues. I got involved with the Russell Fair when I came here a little bit, worked on the school fair projects. And then a few years ago I got involved with the Agricultural Education Day. And for a few years they've been asking me to go on as a director, and I kept saying, no, don't have time. But I guess as my children have gotten older, I've thought, well, it's something I'm interested in, and I will give back. And so this year I agreed to sit on the board of directors, so we'll see where that goes.
If you could say something to junior farmer members today, what would you tell them?
I tell them to take all the experiences that are offered, because they're just, you never know how they're going to affect your life. There's so much value in the people you meet, and you never know down the road where you're going to meet those people again, and how you can benefit each other. Networking is an amazing thing, and I think that's one of the things that people will get out of junior farmers, maybe above all else. But I think that it's the people it's so important.
Is there any other stories that I haven't asked the right questions for her to lead the stories out of your memories?
I can't think of anything. I just,
Okay.
I think lots of good things and lots of good people and, yeah.
That's it. Thank you.